do you have anything that people shouldn't say to somebody that's grieving? Like, is there something that people...
Yes, I made a video about that a couple of days ago. So I feel like sometimes, especially from people who can't relate, who still have their mother, when you say things like, even from listening to some of my followers, they don't like when you say, "I didn't know this." They don't like when you say it's gonna get better later. I don't have a problem with that, but things like the cliche things, God wanted it this way. What's the other one?
God needed them more.
God needed them more. God called his angel home. God called his angel home, and your mother won't want you to be like this. Your mother wanted the better for you. You know, a few things like that. I could come up with some more along the way. Those kind of the ones that sticks out. But I know from my followers, talking to my followers this week doing my lives, they don't like when you say it's gonna get better soon. They like so.
Because that's not really real, like it's cliche. And we could ease into our conversation like this and just have it real informal. But I know, like, when my mom passed, something that really just burned my ears and worked my nerves, it was also like, God needed her more.
Yeah.
And, this is the will of God. I'm not trying to hear that because I'm mad. Like, I'm hurt. I'm not trying to hear that God needed her more. What you mean?
Right.
I need her. Like, nobody's trying to hear that. Like it made me so upset. And then people will also throw even scriptures and stuff at me, which I love. That's beautiful and everything. But I don't want to hear that when I just lost the person that I was connected to, like physically connected to this woman in her womb. I'm not trying to hear none of that.
Especially in that, I consider new. I define. I don't know what the medical terminology is as new, fresh pain, fresh death. Anything between 0 days and 3 years, to me, that's fresh to me. And that 3-year window, that's fresh to me, especially when I'm grieving. Don't nobody want to hear that. Do we use curse words? I don't want.
You can be yourself. Cuss it up.
I don't want to hear that shit. Yeah, I don't want to. Nobody want to hear that shit.
Nobody wants to hear that. I think that's why these conversations are important. But so the definition of grief on the internet from dictionary.com says that grief is deep sorrow caused by someone's death. Do you feel that, does that describe grief for you, or do you feel there's other layers to grief?
For me specifically, I would say it's a myriad of things. It's what they said, a deep sorrow in regards to a loss, especially someone who dies. But for me, my grief is multi-layered. It's sadness. It's bouts of depression, bouts of isolation, withdrawn. You can add in the unable to, triggers. To me, triggers is number one. Triggers is number one. Those are the things that I tell my followers. If you can learn to manage the triggers, you'll have more better days. So my definition of grief is, and I don't really think it's a word invented in the dictionary yet that really describes that pain, that feeling that you have. I think when we 20 years past our death, it'll probably somebody come up with it. But grief is what's that? GRI. 5-letter words? Shit. No, it can't be summed up in 5 words. 5 letters.
It can't.
It's all of a word to describe how I feel.
Yeah. And nothing prepares you for it. And when my mom passed, so one of my definitions, I have a bunch of different definitions for grief because I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm only 2 years in. How deep in this are you?
4 years, July 29th, 2020.
I'm only 2 years in, and I'm still trying to process this. I've described grief as the disconnection of a soul tie. So the moment that my mom died, I felt in my chest, our souls detached from each other. Like, I felt this feeling. It was like, I felt that she was gone, and I don't feel that same connection again. Like, I felt like something was snatched out of me. It just, and I've never felt like, if you pull a plug out of an outlet, like a huge plug, and everything the lights go, everything goes down, and it's quiet and it's still and it's dark. That's what I felt. And so now I've got to learn to live in that quiet, dark place. And there's no handbook for it. And I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know.
You said a disconnection of a soul tie. Wow. See, I like to. Well, it's unfortunate that we had to talk. I call you a Ma. Ma is an acronym for motherless adult. So when I talk to Ma's, and it's also shorthand for what we call our mothers for shorthand, like Ma, Ma. But anyway, I like to hear different perspectives. So you just said a disconnection of a soul tie. I never heard of that. I knew my mother was gone when I got that phone call from my sister saying, "Have you talked to Mama yet today?" I'm like, "I ain't talked to her." So while I'm on my way down there right now, I'm gonna call you when I get there in 45 minutes. But when I hung the phone up for my sister, like you say, something was like something just developed to me like.
You felt it.
I called my mother and went straight to voicemail. I knew it. It was just a feeling like wow. It was just yeah. So I kind of like knew. So I can kind of feel when you say disconnection of a soul tie. I get it in some sense, but I still think it's some kind of connection there because of I feel like I believe in spirits and I believe in signs.
Mhm.
And you're gonna see it too. I feel like you spend a lot of a long time. It's little signs that if you're still, it's little signs that let you know she's still with you. At first, in the first 2 or 3 years, it scares you. But after a while, when you start to notice the signs, you're like, okay, okay, you might like, thank you, Lord. Okay, thank you. You know what I'm saying? That's my mom right there.
Yes. Can we talk about that a little bit? Like, are you
Yeah,
open to talk? Because you are so right. And I think
yeah,
even with the disconnection of a soul tie, you're so right because we are forever, we're eternal. And I talk about this. I talk about how I've got to get used to the fact that my mom isn't her body. That's
right.
what's weird for me. Like I'm trying to connect with or I view her as her body. So now it's like I have to learn that she's everything. She's eternal.
Yeah,
And I do want us to talk about like some of the signs because it will scare the crap out of you.
let's get it. I'm oh, my sister. I have a little sister. Well, when I tell you my story, I tell you how vital she is to this story. But I'll let you tell her story. But she's supposed to come on my live this week to tell her story about uh believe it or not, my mother visited her through another person. And I remember the day when it happened, like a couple years ago. I think it was 2 years in, 2 years in. She called me. She was so happy. And somebody visited her to another story. But like I said, I probably have to connect you with her or whatever. You hear her story. So yeah, it happens.
Yes. Well, let's jump into it. Now, when I emailed you about coming on, I you said something. I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. I asked, if there was anything about your story that you wanted to share with me up front, so I can kind of because I don't. We met on TikTok. We follow each other on TikTok,
Yeah.
but I don't think we know each other's stories like in depth.
Right.
So you said something back to me. You were like, "Do you want to just wait and hear everything like
Okay.
then?"
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna let you tell it. I'm gonna let
All
you
right.
tell your story, tell anything that you want to tell, and
All right.
I'm gonna listen. You got it.
All right. So full disclosure. So I used to be in the streets. I used to be in the streets. I grew up in Chicago. Grew up in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? I was did a lot of crime and everything. So I ended up going to prison in another state. Another state. I ended up getting a sentence for 24 years in prison. And the state that I got sentenced for 24 years in prison, that means I get out in 24 years. There's no if I'm a good boy in there, I get out half my time. No, I have to do 24 years. So, but I was, you know what I'm saying? I got in there, I learned the law, and I was able to get my conviction overturned after 13 years. During that time, I had a good support system. My mother she was ever so present throughout the whole uh 13-year bid. So when I got out, by the time I got out, my mother had moved from Chicago to Texas with my little sister, which is tell you my little sister. But by that time, my little sister had moved 45 minutes away in Dallas, and my mother had lived in Denton. So when I got out at the end of 2019, I got out. I got a job within 2 weeks. I got a job within 2 weeks and everything. Of course, I couldn't see my mother because I'm on parole. Well, I got one of the convictions overturned. One of the convictions overturned, but I still had another conviction. So I was on parole. So when I got out, I got a job within 2 weeks. Within a month, 2 or 3 months, I got my own car and everything. Now, during this time, my mother still was during this time, she was downplaying her diagnosis. She was downplaying, like, oh no, no, I'm all right. I'm in remission. My cancer's in remission. I'm all good, everything. But still, I was on parole, and parole rules prohibited me from making certain decisions like that. You know, by that time, uh, COVID had hit. Now we coming into the beginning of 2020. COVID had hit. So April come. So we had I think it was Easter. I want to say the Easter Sunday Zoom late. It'd be six of us in the square, and my mother be in the middle, and she just didn't look right. Just didn't look right, and she was quiet. So a week later, probably a couple weeks later. My birthday is May 14th, and so the week I think it was a Mother's Day Zoom, a Mother's Day Zoom. And this particular time she was quiet. By the time she was losing her voice, and I made a decision that day. I'm gonna call my parole officer tomorrow morning, which was gonna be Monday, and I'm gonna get my parole transferred to Texas. But it was gonna be a waiting time. It's gonna they have to, it's a process you go through up to 60 to 90 days to get approved. So during that time, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get it approved. Get my I put a request in to have my parole moved from the state I was in to Texas. My mother was happy. We made plans and everything. Like, okay. Are we talking? I'm sending her money and everything. And by this time, my little sister, I'm saying in June, my sister's like, you really don't know what's going on. Because mind you, it was when I was in prison, they didn't want to tell me certain things. I am the baby boy. I'm the baby boy too. So she's like, Mama really didn't tell you. I'm like, tell me what? She's like, boy, listen. She said a couple years ago, which is probably 2017. So I was with Mama when she got her diagnosis. Mama she had terminal cancer. They can stop it. They can prolong it, but eventually it's going to take her out between 3 to 5 years. So when she told me that when the time she told me this, my parole transfer request was still pending. I didn't go back to my mom and be like, Mom, why you mad at me? I just said, okay, I ain't tripping. I'm on my way there. I still sending her money and everything. Just talking to her on Duo, or it was Duo. Then she had an Android, so we talked on Duo and everything. So I had started another job. Yeah, I had started another job. By the time I had started another job and everything. So it was a combination of me working, me couldn't just do what I want to do because I was on parole when I wasn't, and then when I wasn't working, I ain't had no money. And then she couldn't travel because her doctor wouldn't let her travel. That's another thing. Her doctor would not let her get on the plane. That's another reason my mother was like, my sister was like, my sister had visited me in June of that year. She's like, Mama was gonna come with me, but her doctor would not let her fly. That's another thing. Okay, it was serious than I thought. But I never brought it to my mama. I was one that always never want to argue with my mother or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Or be confrontational. I would just rather not talk to her if we was mad at each other. Okay, so here we go. So July 28th, I picked I had a teenage daughter. I picked her up, and we on the way home to the state I was living in, and my mother, I was in Walmart. I love Walmart. I was in Walmart, but I left my phone in the car. So when I came out, I called Mama back. She was hoarse. For the last month, she was hoarse. And I kept saying, Mama, why your voice is hoarse? She kept on blaming it on a big tree by her house. You know, they lie and they deceive. I'm like, okay, whatever. So she's like, well, I'm just calling you. Somebody want to know your new Facebook page, because by that time I think I had lost control of my Facebook page. I really didn't know what I was doing. So I had a new page. So is this your new page? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, she sounded, well, I'm gonna call you right back. I'm like, okay. 8:30 at night. Now I didn't tell her. I'm sorry. Let me rewind. Let me rewind, Brittany. Before I got home, my daughter went to Walmart. I got an email from my parole officer. Congratulations. I have the screenshot of my phone. Congratulations. You've been approved to move to Texas. You have up to 120 days to leave. You know what I'm saying? But this is July 28th. My mother's birthday was August 3rd. So the plan was all of my siblings, we was going to go up there for her birthday, but I was going to stay. So I was going to surprise her. So when I talked to her tonight on the phone, I didn't tell her, Mama, guess what? I got approved today. I'll be up there. I didn't do none of that. We just had small talk. She said she was going to call me back. So I had my oldest daughter with me there at the time. So we just watching movies, watching Netflix and everything. Didn't think nothing of it. The next day, July 29th, it's about 8:30 at night. My sister called me in Texas. Remember, she lived 45 minutes from my mother in Texas. You talked to Mama today? So no, I ain't talked to Mama today. I know she had a doctor's appointment early this morning, but she never called me back last night. She's like, well, my mother's first cousin, which they call each other sisters, said, well, Ophelia called me today and said she usually call her after her doctor's appointment, but she never called, and she been calling her phone all day. She ain't answered the phone. She said, well, I'm on the way down tonight. It's going to take me 45 minutes to get there, and I'm going to call you when I get there. Like I told you, she hung the phone on me. I instantly called my mother with the voicemail. Like you said, it was a feeling that came over me like,
yeah.
Just didn't feel right. Although my sister said that she was going to call me back in 45 minutes, she called me back in like 15. She's like, oh, my nickname is Bug. She's like, Bug, she gone. They found her by the time my sister was in contact with a next door neighbor. Next door neighbor said she went around to the side of the building, looked in the bathroom door, looked in the window, said the TV was on in the room, but she didn't see nothing. They called the police for do a wellness check, kicked the door down. They found my mother on the bathroom floor. and I can't really. And so when that happened, of course, I'm thinking like, so of course I was going through it because my biggest regret was I've been free probably like 5, 6 months at a time, and I had not seen my mother as a free man.
Wow.
So the regret was fucking me up. It was eating me up because
Yeah.
I'm watching TikTok. I'm seeing all these videos of dudes doing a lot of time in prison and coming home to their mama, and it's like I never had that moment. So my whole regret was like, so it was like I want to say it was like a regret because I was like, man, I should have did whatever. Like, I'm not saying seeing my mother was a high priority, but like I say, it was certain things that was preventing me from doing it. So it was
Yeah.
like that regret was eating me up, and I never saw her alone. You know, we did the FaceTime, the duo call, the Zoom calls. I never hugged my mother physically. The last time I see my mother physically and hugged her was in the president's visiting room. I ended up moving here back to Chicago. You know what I'm saying? My girl was pregnant with my daughter at the time, so I'm like, it makes sense. But it makes sense just to come here and everything. But so it's like, so I lived with those regrets for the last 2 or 3 years, and I finally went to I had a new primary care physician. She sat me down as a black woman. She was like, well, usually when I meet my new clients, my new patients, I want to give them a little interview. She sat me down. She was like, so how has the last 3 years been? And when she asked me that, the floor rose just came out because nobody had
Mhm.
never asked me that. And that's when I started. Basically, I think I started Ma's house like 2 years ago, but I called it another name because I called it Sundays with Ma. Again, Ma MA is the acronym for Motherless Adult. Because Sundays, no matter what was going on, we always talked to Mama. Even when I was in prison, on the street, whatever, that was our thing. Then I changed it to Ma's house because I realized I was struggling. And
Mhm.
I looked at TikTok at first. I tell my followers this: you have to balance that pain out. Whatever it is, you can't just stay 100% sad and sullen every
Mhm.
day. So I went to TikTok. I didn't know nothing about those social media when I got out. TikTok helped me balance the pain and everything. And I realized, I think about it, after a year and a half, I was like, well, I'm a man struggling right now. It got to be more men struggling. But we talk to deal with it. Society. Be strong. Don't cry. Suck it up. Man the fuck up. Don't do that. And so when I started the page a couple years ago, but at the same time, I was not in therapy then. So I could only do it a day, like be active 1 or 2 days a week because I couldn't stay there mentally. I couldn't just be on this page all day talking to people. So it lay dormant for like 2 years. Then probably like 5, 6 months ago, I think I posted a couple of videos. I got like probably like 4,000 followers in like three days. It started. Then I said, you know what? It's a need for this now. Let me
Yes.
start. You know what I'm saying? Let me start to pay more attention to that. And then the greatest reward is the men DMing me and the women's DMing me for their husbands. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank you, bro. This is what I need. I've been on TikTok for 3 years. I never found an account like this. So when I ran across your account was the first account I ran across that was so I'm like, oh, okay, somebody is doing this. I'm like, oh, I didn't yes, yes, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So when I ran,
Yeah.
okay, so I am in the right space. I just thought, but I think they needed to see a man do it too, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the questions I was going to ask you is what is it like being a man who's grieving? Because I feel like women, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it's like for y'all. And I will never know what it's like for y'all, but I can only assume with like the pressures in the world, like you said, you got to be tough. You got to do this. You got to suck it up. You got to provide. You got to, and
All that.
do y'all really have time and space to be in the moment in your grief?
I'm glad you asked that question. So I think one of the videos that made my page start to go really get a lot of traction is I made a video back in the summer. Excuse me. It was things that a woman can do when their husband or male lose their mother, and that video got a lot of traction. So
Wow.
yes, to answer your question, we the majority of men, I don't. When you're in your masculine frame, you still like I say, still have to provide, still have to protect, and most men they still they throw themselves into their work so they can be distracted, so they don't have time to sit down, or they start throwing their work into going to the gym. You know what I'm saying? But most men, our our safe space is our car. To and fro going to work, to and fro going to the gym, and we crying our car, or we crying our car.
Mm.
Some males have it where their friend group is completely supportive, and you got 1 or 2 dudes in the group you really can be, you know what I'm saying, you can open up to, but some men don't have that. Because on an average day, you can't really go to your male partner and be like, man, bro, I miss my mom. On the average man ain't gonna be like, man, what? You know what I'm saying? Unless he lost his mom, then you could be like, man, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? But you can't. And even if you have a mate, if you have a girlfriend, mother, wife, whatever, and you always appear strong to her, we in our head, so we think like, I can't even go to her about that. Some women we can go to about it, but keep it. Some women you just can't. You can't be vulnerable with some women unless they lost their mother too.
Unless they understand, yeah.
And I learned that it's like you start to cling more to people who can relate as opposed to people who can't relate, because people who can't relate, like I said, they say some of the most insensitive shit. But back to your question. So yeah, it's kind of hard for most. It's kind of hard for most men to open up because they don't have the support system to do so. So a lot of times, I done had like 6 lives in the last week where males started to come on my lives, start to actually shed tears, and I embrace that, and I love that, and I give them the flow, because we can't do it. Some guys cry for the first time in 5 years over their mother.
Wow.
They come to my page, be on live, and man, let it out. I embrace it. Come on, bro. Come on. You know what I'm saying? So they starting to do it now. And that's why I love my account, because they started to say, okay, it's a brother doing this. And I one thing about myself, I don't have my emotions no more. Whatever they come out at, they come out at. I don't give a fuck no more. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Absolutely.
The sizzle. Cut them off. I don't care. But most men still, they feel what they care about what other people think about them, so they can't be vulnerable. And that's fucked up, because you can't be vulnerable, you suffer in silence. Guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna fucking explode.
You're gonna explode.
We're gonna talk about that too, because that's one of the side effects that people don't talk about. We talk about that on my channel. You're gonna go through a phase where you feel like you don't want to be here no more.
Yeah.
You go through them phases. We go through them when you withdrawn, you isolating, you got your hoodie on, and so we might be paying bills, we might taking our daughter to the recitals and everything, but it's the time we by ourselves, we still like, I miss shit don't seem important no more. I know for me, shit to this day, shit just don't seem important to me. Holidays, I don't care about none of that shit. None of it. I do have a little daughter that's 3 years old that I got to stay involved with her with it. Other than that, I don't care. I hope I get it back to where I can start caring about shit. I don't give a fuck about that.
That's real. If I can interject real quick, it's the same for me. So when my mom first passed, like, I've dealt with depression, I've dealt with suicidal thoughts, like I've dealt with that, you know, and I feel like a lot of times those of us who are meant to do a certain work in the world, we do go through those things so that we can understand it. You know, like we go through it, you know, because like, you really can't help nobody if you haven't been through it. You know, like I always say, I don't want nobody trying to help me with something if you have not been through it. Therapist, doctor, whoever, I need to know. I don't want to know that you're just trained in it.
Book smart.
I need to know that you've been through it in order to help me. That's it. I need to know that. And so when my mom first passed, like, I was depressed. I was suicidal.
Yeah.
Because it like, and I have a daughter. I have a daughter that's 12. She's my only child. And I knew that I had to be here for her. But if, like you said, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here, because grief and loss, you learn that this life is so simple but difficult at the same time. It's so temporary. Like, nothing really matters after that.
Right.
I don't care about stuff no more. I really don't care. You just don't care about the stuff you used to care about.
None of that. It's just like, but and unless, in me in your case, I tell my followers this too though. Like I said, not only do you have to find some, like, balance that with some kind of laughter or something, like I do, like comedy shows and stuff. When you find a purpose, when you find a purpose in the name of your mother, then it's like, okay, now, because now you feel like you helping people now. So now you're like, okay, now the sun is a little brighter now. Now the birds chirping now, but we still gonna have them days, even though we helping people. We still gonna have them days like, hey, fuck everybody, fuck them too. It's my day today.
And that's real. Like, I feel like people, at least I thought before my mom passed, I thought that you got over it after like 6 months or a year. No, you don't. It still feels, so like me and my siblings, we don't have a mom or dad. Our father's alive somewhere doing whatever, but we don't have grandparents. All 4 of our grandparents have passed away. So it's like almost our entire unit of elders are gone. And I mean, like you said, unless you find a purpose, you really don't see the importance of, but I would say, I would piggyback off of what you said to anyone who is grieving and going through loss. Go through your process of healing, go through your process of being pissed off,
Yeah.
be
Yeah. Don't
mad.
yell, cry, angry. Yeah, you're gonna go through that. Open up my back door and just scream out sometimes, like, ah, like males, like I told you, our safe space. I don't know if I'm telling y'all man business, is our car. If you tell me you find me a man who ain't never cried in this goddamn car, he a lie, especially after you lose his mama. You're gonna cry into that car. We beat that steering wheel up. We cry in that car. We listen to our R. Kelly's the sad mama songs. You know what I'm saying? Shit that we know is gonna make us cry. Just to get it out. And when them triggers come, They're gonna come at work, they're gonna come while you're in the grocery store, they're going to come. Now that's man or woman. But the thing about when a man go through it, again, it's hard because he had to wrestle with himself. Should I let it out or should I keep it in? But depending on who he's around, what environment he's in, because he still gotta go to work. Gotta go to work. I can't sit up here. We sit in the house days at a time, not washing our ass, we depressed and everything. Gotta go to work. Gotta do something. And that's the purpose of a man. Because you might be a woman, you might be a housewife, you know what I'm saying, or you got a work from home job or something like that. The man got to go out there and get the money. He can't sit around and just do like this. But the housewife can, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so the average woman, not all not women work too. I think it's not a woman. You know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying? Man,
Yeah.
he gotta, and a lot of men was living with their mothers. So when he lived with their mama, and then mama died, now he on this world by himself, grown ass man. He 45, 50.
That's
Big
real.
mama gone. Mama gone. Now the siblings then fell out because siblings like, I ain't taking his ass, he ain't coming with me. But mama then handicapped him. So he got a whole different type of trauma now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's a whole
Yeah.
deep. I want to ask you something. You said something earlier about what women can do if you have a partner who, if your man lost his mom
Yeah.
and he's struggling and he's grieving, what's something that these women can do to be there for their partner?
Off the hand, I said one of the things is when he's spending more time at the gym, when he's spending more time in his car, don't always assume that he's doing extra sneaky because he just lost the woman, his first love. He's going through some shit, so be there for him. Don't always think he on sneaky shit because if you spending extra time in your car, you must be there talking to that girl. Shit like that. Don't do that. Another thing is, it's like be that. Don't give unsolicited advice, especially if you still have your mother. Sometimes just listen. Just listen. Sometimes don't say those cliche things just because you see I'm sad and you still got your fucking mama. Just be there for me and just listen. And let me see another thing I would always say. If you see he's having a hard time mentally, instead of intruding, just like, baby, I know you sad right now, but if there's ever a time that you want to talk, I'm here for you. Number one. Ooh, I'm getting. Don't if he feel like that you are safe enough, he can be vulnerable with. Don't you ever weaponize nothing he told you while he's being vulnerable with you. Meaning call him sassy, soft, cry baby, weak, because he'll never open up to you again. Yeah, that's number one. And that's the biggest thing that I hear from men. I talk to in my DMs and I do one-on-ones too, is they in a relationship and the woman weaponized him. They saying he like when you go the new word they like to use to emasculate you, sassy. And he's already going through some shit. Like he already lost the number one woman in his life. For his woman, his partner to call him names like that, he's never gonna open up to you again. And for all intents and purposes, the relationship's over. He just physically he probably still be there, but he'll never look at you the same again. Well, men because most men will not talk about it with their woman. So the men who have, and they feel like it could be something so like, dang, baby, you've been like this for the last 6 months. Just get over it. Life goes on.
Ooh.
From your woman? You still got your mama? Yeah, but another thing too, though, you have people who have lost their mother, but they can take it in stride because everybody relationship with their mother is different. So you have a person that you in your inner circle, whether your family or your friends, who have lost their mother, but they took it in stride. Either they compartmentalizing it or they pushed it out their head, but they're able to move on. So when it happened to you, they think you're supposed to be like them, but everybody grieves different. And that's just not
Mhm.
gender specific to a woman. It could be your male friend, your woman, your coworker, whatever. And that's so insensitive. That because you was able to take it in stride and move about good, don't mean I'm supposed to.
That's
So
real.
yeah. Answer your question. Yes, someone I've had women DM me and say, I saw your video, and I I did out of the list I named, I think it was like six, 7 things. So I did 3 of those things. So I love my husband. He's moved out of the house 6 months ago, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna get him back. And she had did some of those things that I told her don't do.
Wow.
She said, I wish I would have saw your video before this. And you are so right.
Wow.
He said, my husband has changed. Cause men change. Brittany, we change, man. I tell this man, I tell people all the time, man, I feel like I was more extroverted before my mother's died. I was way more
Wow.
extroverted. I was like bubbly. I got a humor. I still got a humor, but it comes out in days, some days at a time. And then when a man loses his mama, it changes some men. You start becoming more reckless. You start going into a lot of drugs, alcohol. Some people they find looking for love in all the wrong places. So they get addicted to sex. It could be gambling. It could be a lot of stuff. So when that happens for a man, it changes him. And if you and I tell people all the time, if your relationship or marriage was on the rocks before the mama died, yeah, because it's going to change him. He's not the same person. I'm not. Most of us is not affectionate no more. He's just not affectionate no more. And
Wow.
I think I put that in the video too. I said, don't assume because he's not affectionate with you that he's getting it somewhere else or he don't love you no more. He ain't thinking about that shit no more.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
just
that's
not.
real. That's
Oh,
so real.
yeah.
So after my mom passed, and I made a video about this on my TikTok too. After
Uh,
my mom passed, that's when my exes wanted to like come in the picture and try to console me. And their way of trying to console me was they wanted to do something physical. I want to, I'm not thinking about that. I don't want you to touch me. Like I
yeah,
just watched my mama take her last breath. I
yeah.
don't want you on me. I don't like, and then they'll say things like, you're acting different. And what happened to you? My mama just died. I
No.
don't want you to touch me. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. Like,
No.
and it's so crazy that people don't understand. They just don't understand. I don't want to be affectionate.
I don't. I think I became shit. I learned the new word ever since my mom and dad. I used to hear the word asexual all the time. Now I know what it is. It definitely turned me asexual. I was like, I don't give a fuck about that shit. It don't. It's. I feel like it's more important thing, and that's sad. And I tell people that's unfair to your partner. Because when I think I moved out for like a year and a half. Because again, that's not fair to our partner either. It's not fair to our partners because
Mhm.
they want to be affectionate. It's not fair to our partner, but they don't understand what we're going through. So I feel like, and I put myself in their shoes too, because it can make, especially for a woman and a man going through it, it can make a woman feel unwanted and unneeded. It
Yeah.
really ain't got nothing to do with her. It's just I'm not in that mode right now. You know what I'm saying? And in your situation too, I do think people, it is some men they think like that. Oh, I'll get close to her, mom and dad. I can be, you know what I'm saying? That's some scumbag, dirtbag ass shit. You also notice about emotional intelligence, emotional intimacy. That's what we crave more than anything now. Emotional intimacy. And most men don't get that. We only see about what, you know what I'm saying? Like, if
The
you
physical.
yeah. And
That's so real. The
yeah,
emotional intimacy is different. Like that's what I want. And if it's not that, then I'm good. Like I
yeah,
don't even want to be bothered. And
yeah,
it does change you. You don't think about the same things. I don't even want the same type of like relationship or partner now.
yeah.
And I'm single. I've been single for a very long time. And
Right.
I don't even desire it because it's like, will you understand what I'm going through?
It,
No.
it turns you into a sapiosexual where you only like you more aroused by emotional intelligence more than anything, you know what I'm saying, in conversation. Especially along this walk of life that we take right now, because we're gonna meet people like that too. So it's like physical, excuse me. That's something. It's like the farther thing from my mind now. Once you got a purpose like that, it's like it is what it is. Especially one of the key things that changed about me, my sense of discernment got heightened.
Same.
Yeah. So
Same.
once they get heightened, and I cut them off. I don't care. I can cut them off off quickly now. I don't give a fuck who it is. I can cut them off. So once your sense of discernment get heightened, you ain't got time for that bullshit no more. You can pick up on bullshit ASAP. You can pick up like nope, he on bullshit. And yeah, that's man and woman.
Can we go into that about like things that change? And because I know we talked about earlier, you mentioned certain signs that you could certain signs that came out that showed you that your mom was around. But also for me, signs happened, but then there were things that changed. Spiritually, emotionally, I'm super sensitive, and I'm not like a as big of a crier as like most women. The world says women are more emotional. I've never been a woman to just sit around and cry. Now I cry a lot more. Like you said a little while ago, like I don't stop my emotions. If I'm sad, I'm sad. If I want to cry, I'm gonna cry. But my sense of discernment is so heightened. It is crazy. I can know the intentions of a person like that. I know who they are. I know what they're about. Like you said, I can disconnect. I don't have because I with the death of my mom, I know that this life is just like quit anyway. I don't even take life serious. I don't take it serious as in I don't worry and stress because we all gonna get up out of here one day. And you realize that we're all just passing through. But that discernment.
That's good. I already had good discernment, but it got better. It got sharper. I'm gonna say sharp.
I felt like I remember. So I talk about this on my TikTok, how my mom passed away at the same hospice facility that my grandmother passed away. And so like in hospice, when somebody passes away, they do like this walk through ceremony down the hall. Like the nurses and doctors, everybody stands on different sides of the hall and they wheel the person out. They cover them up with a little blanket and they wheel them out, take them to the funeral home. So we stood out there for my grandma. And I remember standing out there for my mom, just like, what in the world is happening? This is like it. I remember standing there like, is this really happening to me? This is crazy. And I remember we walking out of hospice, everything changed. My life changed. It hurt. I have never felt anything like that ever. I physically felt sick. Like my heart physically ached. And it was crazy because people didn't care. They did not care. They still wanted you to be there for them. I still need you to do this. I still need you to do that. You still got to work. You still got to pay bills. You still got to be a parent. People did not care. And I remember, and it still happens to me sometimes, but I remember waking up the day after my mom passed and I thought it was a dream. This is no joke. Like I woke up and thought like, oh, that was a bad dream. And then it's like, it hit. And she died all over again. And then it would happen weeks and months later. I would forget that she passed away and it would hit. She died all over again. This happened to me. So this past Monday, this Monday was the 2-year anniversary of my mom's passing. And it happened to me that the night before that, like I forgot. And I woke up, grabbed my phone to tell her like, oh, I'm starting a podcast. Forget that the podcast is about grief. It's about her. And I forgot that she died.
2 years later. That's 2 years later. Now, I stopped doing that in my 6-month phase, but you did it 2 years later.
2 years later.
I do still wake up and be like, damn, my mama really gone.
Really
I don't
gone.
call no more, but I do wake up like, damn, my mama really gone. And if something else, you said something else you just said. You said you wake up and thought it was a dream. I don't like to liken to this, but you just reminded me of something. Have you ever been in love with somebody that cheated on you? Okay, I describe it as that feeling that you have when somebody cheated on you that you love times 10. Because there's been times you got cheated on when you woke up, you can't eat, cold sweat. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that times 10. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like it's a horrible feeling. It physically hurts. Like you feel like you are dying with them. That's what it feels like.
In a sense, we do be feeling like we got cheated. We got cheated.
We got cheated.
Yeah.
Do you feel guilty sometimes? Like, okay, so I follow a lot of people on social media that are grieving and stuff. And I feel as an adult, and that's why I love what you do, because you give a space to motherless adults. But as an adult, like I'm in my mid-30s, and I feel sometimes a little guilty when I grieve the way I do, because I'm like, man, there's people who lost their mother at a super early age. Do you feel guilty sometimes?
Not guilty, but it's a couple of people who I like. For one instance, Cameron, 50 Cent too. I'm gonna say 50 Cent. 50 Cent high profile. But 50 Cent, I didn't notice until like about 6 months ago that he lost his mom when he lost his mother as a young kid. His mother not only was died, but she got killed Like she
Wow.
was savage. She got killed. I'm like, man, this man able to come up. He was able to overcome this, be a mogul and everything. And Cameron, the same thing. Cameron mother died a couple years ago. He came out. He got the new podcast. It's popping right now. So I don't. It's like it's more motivational than. And then instead of that, what you just said is more motivational. But I do feel like, damn, sometimes we compare ourselves to other mothers. Those be like, well, look at him at this stage, his 2 years stage. He got them in his. He bubbly, upbeat, and everything. Why the fuck I ain't like this? You know what I'm saying? I had a guy on my lap the other day. He was on my lap the other day. His mother had just died 2 months ago this year. Wow. But he gave the most. This was the first man that came on my live that came on camera. Usually they cut their camera off. And he was so upbeat, you would have thought that he was longer in his journey. Yeah. I said, "Hold on, you said your mom and dad this year?" He said, "Listen, man, my mother was alive. We talked about this. We talked about being sad and angry. So I was angry for like a week, but I let it go because we talked about this." Oh, I was like, damn. And everybody on the lab was like, man, he just lost his mama 2 months ago. And I could sense everybody was thinking the same thing I was thinking, which was, how the fuck does he like this after 2 months? Yeah. And it's been 4 years for me.
Okay.
That's really different though.
It's different, but that shows that it's different. Like grief is different for everybody. And I think after my mom passed, I would go on the internet and I would search up like grief and how to grieve and the 7 stages of grief. That did not help me. It didn't help me because I wasn't grieving like that. Like it was different. You know, it was just different for me. Completely different.
I always look at the 7 stages of grief too. And one thing I don't like about the 7 stages of grief, they need to rewrite that shit. I'm like, how is triggers not in there? How triggers should be number 1. How is it, maybe triggers in what? I got denial, isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, get help. Maybe triggers is somewhere in one of them definitions, but triggers. I tell all my followers, if you can manage them triggers, man, when you're in public, you see somebody with their mother. Man,
that is a trigger. Okay, like it. I can't even watch. So I love watching American Idol. I do. I like all the singing shows. So I was watching American Idol, and there was a young guy who his grandmother, because I don't have grandparents either. So his grandmother got to tell him, like, you know, you're going to Hollywood or something like that, that he was going through to the next round. I had to turn it off. I broke down and cried.
Yeah.
I can't even watch TV with people and their moms without being triggered, let alone seeing it in public.
Yeah, it's a especially in Walmart. Walmart is my big Walmart. So just being in Walmart and seeing. I don't know if this happened for you. I noticed it like a year ago. I've always been respectful to my elders, always. But since my mother passed, when I see an elderly Black woman in public that looks my mother age, it's like I can't really explain to you. It's like a connection to them, and they do it to me too. Because I sell these shirts. I got one hoodie in my Etsy store that says, "Let's hug if you miss your mother too." So, and every time I wear the hoodie, I get a lot of hugs. But even before I wore the hoodie, I can't really explain to you. It's like elder woman be like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "How you doing, ma'am?" You know what I'm saying? It's like more affinity to elder Black women. So it's like, I don't know what it is. I be more respectful to how you doing, ma'am? You want me to reach that off the top shelf for you, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you doing? It's like some of them be knowing. It's like maybe it's something over me that I'm longing for a mother figure. It could be that. I don't know.
Same. I am. I ain't gonna lie. I am like my neighbor, our new neighbors. I have a new neighbor to the right of me, and she's an older woman who gardens and she's just, and I just want to go over there and hug her so bad. Like I've been over there. Me and my daughter, we went to her house a few times, but I'm like, I want to tell this woman so bad, ma'am, I ain't got no mama or no grandmas. Like, can we just do this?
You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm talking about then.
I need you.
Yes. And sometimes some of them can sometimes, and that's God too. You ain't got to say why you need them. They be knowing. Is it some shit that's unsaid? And they know too. I'm like, man, okay, that was needed right there. It'd been time. I'd have been at Walmart again. And I could see it. I could be having a moment. And a Black woman come, how you doing? Hey, it's just smiling. And we get to talking and everything. That's another one of them signs. Like, I needed that right there. You know what I'm saying? Even without the hoodie that way, I would get these reactions from women like, hey, how you doing? Come here. Hey, what? Smile sometimes. Smile sometimes. You got a good smile. My mother used to always tell me that about my smile. I never really paid attention to it, but boy, why you in here frowning up folks? Smile sometime. And I'd just be like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I have one more thing to ask you real quickly before we wrap up. And signs, going back to the signs.
Okay.
Signs that your mom has sent you that she's around. So for me, and part of my story that I share on TikTok is how 4 months before my mama passed away, I started seeing 444 on the clock every day, meaning 4 a.m., 4:44 a.m., 4:44 in the afternoon. I would see it on receipts, license plates. I saw it every day up until the day that she passed away. And she passed away on 4/8/22. And my mom took her last breath at 4:44 p.m. after I had seen those numbers for 4 months. And so she's come to me in dreams. I'll see signs, different things. There was even a situation, and I've never spoken about this because I know how people are. They get scared, but I don't care anymore. But it was for my birthday, my first birthday without my mom. My daughter, for some reason, had balloons in the house, like that she was playing with. And we were sitting downstairs. It was my first birthday since my mom passed. The balloon went from one side of the house. I was sitting on the couch. It went from over by, the front of the house, circled around to the kitchen, came over to the couch where I was sitting. I held my hand out and that balloon sat right in my hand. And it was just a balloon on my birthday. And I'm like, man, is this a coincidence? Is this God showing me that she's okay, that she's right? Is this? So if you could tell me a situation or an instance when you got some type of sign that your mom was around, that her energy still lives.
Let me see. Let me see one of the best ones.
Because you get a lot. I get a lot.
Yeah, but real quick before I expound on that, I had my female manager's co-worker. She's also a motherless adult too. She told me a similar story. Her mother passed too. She told me a similar story about a balloon following her around in the house, and then her husband didn't believe it, and the husband was like, "Wow." So that's not.
I saw a video about this on TikTok. There was a woman whose son passed away.
Uh,
And I think they were at the service after the funeral.
uh,
And I will never forget it. I hadn't seen anything like that happen to anybody outside of me. The balloon, they had balloons at his service. The balloon circled that entire funeral home and went straight to the mama, straight to her.
well, I don't have off top. I can't think of anything as intricate as what you just said. But okay, so I told you when my mother died, my girl she was pregnant with my daughter. So when she was born, my daughter is a spitting image of my mother. Not only is she a spitting image of my mother, but she has her mannerisms. One of them being there, she has a bombastic side eye, like my mother, like she look at you like this or like cut them eyes. So it was one particular time I was having a bad day. Probably in the last 8 months, I was having a bad day, like really mentally and everything. And my daughter, she wasn't talking at the time, but she was kind of like saying certain kind of words and everything. And when I was having one of the bad days, she came over and she gave me that look. And I'm talking about when she looked at me, it was like I was looking at my mama. And
Wow.
she came over there and she embraced me and everything. And I just felt this relief of like that's really, I really think, and everybody says this before I even thought it, people will say that like I would post pictures of my daughter online, my mother's best friends and aunties and cousins. They'd be like, oh my God, she looks just like you. Wow, wow. And I hear it a lot. So at first when I was hearing and seeing it, was kind of like bittersweet. Because sometimes it's eerie, sometimes when you won't accept it. But now I'm starting to accept it more. I don't look
Yeah.
at it as something that's macabre. And I look at it like, okay, my mother left me somebody here. She left me,
Mhm.
she's always here and everything. And sometimes when I'm going through it, she's left, my daughter, I can't really explain it. I would have to movie, her name is Movie too, because one of the pastimes we like to do with my mother was watching movies growing up. That was our thing.
You're so sweet.
My daughter's name is Movie. We just spelled it different. Movie Land, my mother's name is Lynn, and then Movie Land. Yep.
Movie Lynn is your daughter's name.
Man.
That's beautiful. That's so sweet. I have one last thing to ask you.
Yeah.
If you could give a piece of encouragement to a man who is watching and just lost his mama and just one last thing, what would you say to a man who
Oh,
freshly lost his mama? He is dealing with it today.
nice question. I will say to any man that's watching this right now, you're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. Uh, It's going to get worse before it get better. You have to protect your peace and guard your energy. And I mean cutting off anybody that you feel that you cannot be vulnerable around. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to let that shit out whenever, and wherever. And if you're around anybody where you feel like you can't do that, you have to cut them out. Uh, if you're whether you have a job, you have insurance, or whether you have Medicaid, whatever, consider using that. Consider using that your insurance plan instead of paying all them insurance every month for nothing. Just consider talking to somebody. If you don't feel comfortable with the first therapist that you can't relate to, just sometimes you have the therapy shop. Whatever you do, well, it's gonna be time when you feel like you feeling overwhelmed, and you want to give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Reach out to somebody that you can feel you talk to. It could be a co-worker. It could be somebody that you feel you can relate to. But whatever you do, whatever feelings that you're feeling right now, it's understandable. It's understandable. You are not weak. You just lost your first woman that you ever loved in your life. It's understandable the way that you feel right now. And I feel like when it's get to the point where you feel like you're overwhelmed, consider getting help. And when you start having more bad days than good days, meaning if you're having more bad days per week than good days, and it's happening consistently, and nobody understands you, and you feel like you can't open up with nobody, consider help. Talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be anybody. It don't have to be therapists all the time. It could be anybody that you feel you can
Yeah.
relate to. And then you can come into my the name of my TikTok page. Well, she told you my TikTok page. And you can just come into my DM and everything. I'll reach out to you. We have a nice community over at Ma's house too. If I'm not available, it's always somebody that's going through the same thing that you're going through that you can always relate to.
Yeah. Tell us the name of your TikTok page again and how to reach you and contact you.
Ma's house, MA''S house, Motherless Adult House on TikTok.
That sounds good. This was good, Adrian. This was so good.
To learn more about Motherless Adults House or to book a grief coaching call, follow at Motherless Adult House on TikTok.